Hi there, Andrew Jackson, AJ Design Studio. Got another lozenge pill-shaped video here. This is a form I found online. I'll just show you a photo of this. Okay, this is the only image I could find of it, and there wasn't much information, so I'm not actually sure it's some kind of controller, I'm guessing. I couldn't find any side elevations or anything else, so I've just tried to extrapolate out from this image what exactly I think the form might be. And yeah, so sort of your racetrack lozenge pill shape, and then it dips down into this area here. Guessing this might be some kind of a button or a joystick, who knows. So this is my end result, and it turned out okay. I mean, I guessed a few things, you know, like depth and what have you, so not exactly like the photo, and I increased the crowning on this end here. I thought it looked a bit flat on that image. So let's turn the zebras on, see what the results like. So again, I'm trying to use G3 continuity where possible. So this main surface here is convex on this end, and then it runs down to concave under this circular element on this end. And then on the back, I just made it a crown surface right the way around. And then the buttons are using fill surface with a point to set the height, so not using the dome tool. And I'll explain everything. I'll roll through the tree quickly. Right, to start with, I have a plan control sketch, and as I said, I just said, okay, this is 100 millimeters long, and then I figured out the other dimensions based on that. So, because I don't know the scale of the original image. And then next I worked out my outer profile for my G3 continuity between the straight line and arc segment. So if you refer to my first video in this lozenge sequence of videos, I go into depth on how I set this up. So after I did that, had to create the inside of the racetrack. So again, using the same setup as the outside profile to create the G3 blend between line and arc. Then I've created a section, which is an arc R12, which then I've extruded up to this angle here, because that line there is where the inside and outside G3 spline starts. Then created the same section on this end here. So R12 linked that together with an equation to this one, so it's the same. And then this gets revolved around, because this section here we want to be a true arc, because we've got a circular element here. So I didn't want to run a full spline that's emulating the arc all the way around, because it'd be good to have some of this being an arc, so it's concentric to this circular element. Okay, so this surface here, I've revolved it around, but then I trim it back, so it's trimmed back to where our two splines are finished. So I do that with the plane, trim that back, and now I make a boundary surface through here. Like so. Boundary surface has just got tangent constraints on each end, tangent influence 100%, and then in the second direction we'll just picked our degree 7 style spline on each side. Knitted those together and just interrogate those with the zebra. So a pretty smooth result there, and yeah, curvature doesn't show us much. So moving on, I've mirrored this over because I want to create these surfaces through the middle as full width, just to get around any centerline continuity hiccups we might have. Okay, so I've mirrored that over twice and knitted that together, and the knit has merge entities on, so these two surfaces, because they're an extrude, gets rid of this join here because it will merge it into one surface, like so. And the same for the revolved sections on each end. Okay, next up is creating the circular element here, so that's just the surface revolve. So I need to create this, and then I've got to create a surface, sorry, not a surface, a guide curve through the middle, as you can see here with the curvature plot on. So this is the centre line of the surface that runs down and runs underneath our circular element here, and I want it to be offset on this end. So this is an arc, and this is an offset of an arc here. So I created this offset first, and I also on the other end created an arc, and then I want to run my G3 spline, G3 connection on each end. So degree 7 style spline with 8 CVs. I wanted to set up these arcs first, because otherwise if you try and do this all in one sketch, if you try and change the endpoint of where these arcs terminate, then you get an over definition issue with the spline. So I set up the arcs first, and in this case the arcs are controlled with an angle, and on this end it's controlled with a distance. So there's my crown height there, 0.25 millimeters on this end, and I've extended that out by 5 millimeters, and that controls the spline here. So if I had this angle in here and I wanted to move this point, this spline, these G3 or the curvature continuity or something would fall over. You get an over definition. It's a real pain. So, and because we're using G3, you've got to allow extra space for your spline to change direction, because our continuity of curvature, the rate of curvature is equal the change. So that's why this arc finishes way back here. So I get a nice sort of, the CVs don't suddenly jump up, and I've got no inflection above this, above the top surface. Inflection points there. Okay, so we turned off our curvature combs. Now we've got to build out this surface. So I'll hide this circular element. I've added 2 curves in the second direction, and in this case they are both arcs. So this is an arc that has got a pierce point relationship with this, the crown height end on that center line, and on the other end again it's an arc with a pierce point relationship with the degree 7 spline down the middle. And then I've created a boundary surface, and the boundary surface doesn't have any constraints on the boundaries, because we're using 2 sketches in this direction, and in the second direction we're using 2 edges and the center line, like so. Now on this end I've created a revolve, kind of treating this the same as I treated the outside. So I've created a revolve. I'm going to trim that back. Except this time I've trimmed it back to where this the boundary surface starts. So this section's a revolve, that section's a revolve. Okay, that's an extrude, that's an extrude, that's a boundary surface. So last thing here, I'm going to patch in a surface, except I've used a loft on one side, and then I've mirrored that over. I was getting a few continuity issues here, so I've decided to use a loft. And the loft, because this loft seam is obscured by the circular element, I haven't specified a boundary condition on that boundary on that loft. But even so, when you knit it together, it's still, you run a deviation analysis, it's 0.23 degrees off tangent, and as I said, it's obscured, and if that was if that circular element was a button or something, there'd be a cut through here, so it doesn't really matter, because it means this boundary here was much smoother, as you can see. Okay, so now we've got to go down this end and finish this off. So this one's much more like where you build a four-side surface and we trim it back to build us another four-side surface, like so. So boundary surface has got another arc as a boundary on this end. Again, pierce point relationship in the middle with our center line. And on this boundary here, it is tangent influence 100%. And then I've created a sketch to trim that out to make it into four-sided surface. Add a four-sided surface. Four-sided surface there has a cross curve through the middle, which again is the same center line control sketch there. Tangent face on 1, 2, 3 boundaries. I've left these 2 side ones 0% tangent influence, and the center one here is 100% tangent influence. And then I've created the sidewall, which is a swept an arc all the way around. Then I've mirrored this racetrack profile around the outside. and that's an extrude down the middle. So I've chosen a crown height of 0.75 millimeters. So that arc deviates by 0.75 millimeters in the center. And then I'm pretty much going to treat this end here as I did on the other side. So created a boundary surface there, and then trimmed it back to make a four-sided surface there, like so. Knitted that together, mirrored up to the other end, and then thickened the circular element and the pill shape. Okay, now to create the buttons, I have extruded surface. Then I have capped the ends of those surfaces with planar faces down here, and then we've used the split tool to split the solid into 1, 2, 3 elements, and then I've used the move face around the outside here to create a clearance, and then I've created the dome faces, which are basically a surface fill with a constraint curve, which happens to be a point, which is offset. If you put an arc through here and then use the arc as the constraint, you actually end up with sort of flat areas in the curvature of the fill surface. So even if you add 2 arcs in 2 directions, I've checked this, I've triple checked it, you still end up with these funny flat areas in between the 4 segments of the sketch. So you end up with a much nicer result if you just have a sketch with a point in it, and that is what deviates the surface downwards, and then it's just a straight face replace to replace this face here, which you've got to remember that face is crowned, okay? Otherwise you could do a revolve. This is the crowned surface, so you can't do a revolve, or you end up with a wonky outline. Okay, so we just replace that face, and then the other surface down here, the other fill surface, is pretty much the same, except this time it's convex, and that point in the sketch is 0.5 deviating above the center of the crown surface. Okay, and yeah, so there you go. Better than using the dome tool, you know, if you go insert, feature, dome, because with that you get some weird flattening around the outside of your dome, which isn't ideal. And then I've just added a whole lot of chord width, curvature continuous fillets to finish it off. So there we go. I'm going to wrap this up now. I don't want to go talking about too much other stuff. Let's just do some more zebra stripey kind of evaluations. Okay, so that button, even just using the fill surface, that's quite a nice quick way to change things, especially if you wanted to change the crown height. It's only 0.25 millimeters deviation. If we made that 0.7 or something, and then hit rebuild. So you can see what's happened there. It's a bit too excessive. This surface is now crowned up quite prominently, and then you have much more of a transition here where the surface goes flat and then into convex. Concave, sorry. So just undid that. Have a look with some other. Got various reflection maps to try out. So that's kind of like a matte white. Not really. It's a bit more metallic than matte white. Anyway, this is probably a good point to wrap this up. Thanks for watching. Another lozenge video. I might have another one or two up my sleeve when I have time to put them together. Cheers. Andrew Jackson, AJ Design Studio. See ya.